Immerse in the profound wisdom of the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, ancient verses, revered as a pinnacle of devotion and spiritual awareness. Under the guidance of His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda, plunge into the infinite ocean of this revered scripture. Discover its hidden truths. Embrace its transformative power. Awaken to new realms of divine love and spiritual awareness. The depths are calling. The deeper you dive, the more treasures you'll discover. And now, Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. And adorations to the Divine Self in each of you. Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, we are coming to conclusion. 96th Sutra. Ananya Bhaktya tad buddhi buddhilayat atyantam. By unflinching devotion, when the intellect is utterly dissolved, one attains realization of the Supreme Self, realization of God, the same as moksha, liberation. The important point, tad buddhi. Your mind is constantly involved with the world. The world is a refraction of the divine light. Think of light is here, a prism is here, and refracted colors. And in the prism you are sitting as a jiva, admiring the refracted light and not looking at the source. So the intellect of the individual soul is involved in figuring out all the refracted lights. And then creating karmas to explore the world of refraction. An illusion has such quality that it has no end until you become disillusioned. All experiences in the world of time, space, causation, all experiences in and through conditioned mind and limited senses, all these experiences are transient, but not real. If your intellect becomes involved in these, bravo to that intellect. I'm speaking in a negative way. It's the foolishness of the intellect to go on thinking about all the refracted things. The light is just behind, shining in all splendor. Tada buddhya. Therefore, the quality of life is highly enhanced when you begin to move away from unreal to real. Therefore, here, asato ma sadgamaya. Lead me from asat. These are not existent. A rainbow doesn't exist. Again, is a relative term compared to the sun. A dream doesn't exist. All experiences through your mind and senses, they are anityam. Anityam means transient. Asukham, since they are illusory, you can't find real happiness. You see a rainbow, such a wonderful phenomenon. People sing of flying above the rainbow. But we're flying over an illusion. Therefore, your task is to become deeply involved in the sun, God, who is shining through your mind, creating in you a sense, I am this personality, ego in you, the intellect, the unconscious that has stored all the impressions, the mind that is constantly collecting impressions from the world. Mana buddhi chitta ahamkar, 4 aspects of the mind need to be understood. First aspect of mind is what people know as conscious mind. General mind, mind that is constantly picking up impressions as your senses operate and contact the objects. Even the ability of the senses to contact objects is based on mind. You may be looking glaringly, your eyes may be very stressed, and things may pass before your eyes. And someone comes by and says, did you see that passing by? You say, no. Are you blind? He said, no, I'm not blind. My mind wasn't there. Your mind is not there. You may have very big eyes. Double the size. Yet to see nothing. So it is the miracle of the mind that operates through your sense. But all that you experience through your senses, and then I was explaining the 4 aspects. So the mind and the senses are bringing you all these impressions. Intellect analyzes, evaluates, rationalizes. Ego is a leader. The ego tells the intellect, go after it. If it is interesting to your ego, then you will direct your intellect. If you are not interesting to your ego, forget about it. And the result of the functions of mind, intellect, and ego, the end result has to be stored in a diary. Not ordinary diary, it's the mystical diary. It goes into the unconscious, all records. This is the divine computer that all computers will open their mouths in awe before it. Immense storage. As you live by, you create a storage of records. But there is a time when people say, just shred it. And legally you are allowed to go on shredding. From life to life, each life, you create a whole bundle, and not just bundle, amazing proportion of records, things that you experience from the childhood until your last, in the previous impression. They're all recorded. But all those records are removed, only allowing some important facts to move on from one life to another. If you are not enlightened, whatever is moving on is also in the realm of illusion. You are moving from illusion to illusion. And from birth to birth, your mind is interested in things that don't exist. Na sate vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata. Statement of Krishna in the Gita. There is no existence for the unreal, and the real never ceases to be. The real one, that which is behind the prison, that never ceases to be. But all the refractions that come before, where we are looking at the refractions, not the reality. all refracted illusions, firstly, they are not there. Even while they are there in the realm of illusion, you are not always with the same set of illusion. It constantly goes on changing. Like in a cinema show. All the time, what are you interested in? You are seeing the illusions coming which do not exist. And you are constantly involved. If it doesn't work well with your mind, you won't pay. You pay for it. That's symbolic. That's what gives zest to life. Therefore, if devotion opens your heart, the window of your heart, and enables you to perceive the presence of God shining through your unconscious, through your ego, through your intellect, through your mind and senses, what will happen? All the time you are engrossed in Vishaya Chintan. In the state of ignorance, Vishaya Chintan means thinking of things that come within the purview of your conditioned antahakarana, conditioned mind, intellect, ego, unconscious set. These four constitute a set known as internal instruments, antahakarana. And you are involved in all things that come in the range of that antahakarana. And all the four are under stress. Mind is always itching what to see. What is spicy? No gossip. Day has passed. No pickles for the mind. Suspense. That's only I'm trying to describe the state of mind. Then, your intellect with tremendous capacity to have clarity, constantly subjugated by ego. Intellect is drunk, having sipped ignorance. Doesn't know its capacity. And what intellect works out and comes to decide is degrading for you. Intellect tells you you are very prosperous, much better than others. Intellect has deluded you simply because you compare the physical facts. Those are not the realities. But under the pressure of ego, the intellect doesn't open its deeper vision. It just tries to be polite to the ego. If you became a devotee of God or became spiritual, it becomes your sacred task to let your intellect understand profoundly. And how can intellect understand? Not simply bookish knowledge. By creating an integral development of your personality, integrating yourself, balancing yourself. If you integrate yourself, intellect feels healthy. And ego itself becomes a little more relaxed. And ego is interested. Intellect, what do you say? Say on, I will not stop you. To be brief, bhakti implies a change in all the four. Your intellect begins to understand that all that you are experiencing is a refraction of the divine awareness. There isn't a moment when you are not in the ocean of divine presence. In what manner are you in? Best way to say, like reflections. And your ego undergoes a change. Each time you do negative things, say to yourself, I did it, I want to correct it. I turn to authoritative people for guidance. But each time you do something miraculous, wonderful, God did it. Now your intellect is getting healthier. If intellect became very healthy, then you are not the doer at all. Neither negative nor positive. Nothing is being done. Your cell phone starts telling to you, how much important am I? You have to teach it. Without my fingertips, you are nothing. All human personality with amazing capacity, without the touch of God's finger, it's nothing. So your ego has now become aware. The real I am that touches the buttons or touches these vital points, that I am is not ego. Ego doesn't exist. Individuality is an illusory notion of the mind, an erroneous notion. I am that am I. Movement is progressive. First to develop the idea, I'm a slave, God is the master. And develop, I am a ray, God is like the sun. And then, bravo, I am the sun. The ego moves on. That's called, ego is now engrossed in bhakti. Movement in bhakti, to be engrossed in bhakti devotion. So mind becomes engrossed. Mind is seeing so many things. But you are constantly reminding yourself. Ghat ghat mein hai Sai Ramata. Everything that you see within it, there dwells God. If you go on allowing the mind to be reminded of it, then your devotion is touching, inundating your mind. Similarly, your intellect. Intellect goes on guiding you to understand that behind all these names and forms, God is the reality. Names and forms move. Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute is the reality. That's the nature of God. And what happens to the chitta, the unconscious? Now you are storing impressions of immensity, majesty, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, all things, the grandeur of truth, the divine glory. Your unconscious has become like dazzling clouds. And the clouds that dazzle play their role and disperse. Eventually, your entire mental process, all the four, melt away. The little imp that was in the prism has gone. Prism has vanished. The reality shines on. Tad buddhir buddhi layat. One statement of the sutra. The intellect is utterly dissolved. Ayushtiram itaresham tu hani naspadatvat. Having attained Parabhakti, there is delay in liberation only as long as the devotee has body which is sustained by karma. Simple point is being given to you. Generally, the idea is a person who attains God realization should simply melt away. And we have stories also how sages were and suddenly evaporated up. But if all sages will go on evaporating, you wouldn't have any scripture to guide you. So, after the enlightenment, personality of a sage continues. From his own subjective point of view, he is not the doer. He doesn't have any body. Even the world before him doesn't exist. It's all the glory of God. But from practical point of view, he is busy bringing the message of spirituality, awakening spiritual potentiality in everyone, reminding people that the world is guided by God, not by you. Allah encouraging you to develop divine qualities. His role becomes like the spring season that has come into a forest. You don't see it. And it goes on helping the entire forest. All are not helped in an equal measure. Only the rose blossoms like a rose. Or a lotus blossoms like a rose. Nevertheless, the entire forest, every leaf of it, gets the benefit. If you are moving towards enlightenment, you have promoted something so dynamic that none has been left untouched by it. Therefore, if you want to do the greatest good to you, to the whole world, and to yourself, become a devotee of God. Develop Parabhakti. Turn your steps towards God realization. Sansriti resham abhakti syat na ajnanat karana siddhe. The world process of the jiva exists as long as there is want of bhakti and not from ajnana or want of knowledge. Since ajnana has not been proven to be the cause, is a subtle point based on practicality. A spiritual aspirant studies scriptures, has grasped Vedantic insight that the self is beyond the three bodies, beyond the five sheets. The self is different from waking, dream, deep sleep. This intellectual study gives such clarity of understanding. I'm talking of the absolute understanding, a sense of clarity. And a person says, now ajnana is gone from my mind. Shandilya says, stop. If ajnana has gone and divine love has not developed, then forget about it, you are not liberated. The higher test of your spiritual progress is blossoming of divine love. And that is the test. Any other test is inferior. That's Shandilya's opinion. And that's most practical, most profound. Otherwise, intellectually, you can go very high. But if In your practical day-to-day life, you have no experience of immense love of God. Neither can your personality express or radiate divine love. If your personality doesn't radiate things that are divine, inspiring others, encouraging others, if that has not happened, then you have not attained Parabhakti. And if you have not attained Parabhakti, there will be no liberation. So the conflict is not between whether I should attain jnana or bhakti. Jnana and bhakti both are two aspects of the same coin. But always remember that your understanding that I have attained jnana is inferior. The real proof lies devotion. Your heart is filled with joy. Raso vai saha. That Brahman is rasam. Nectar. That Brahman is yo vai bhuma tat sukham. Brahman is infinite joy, not ordinary happiness. You have learned by intellectual process, I am Brahman. But how much happiness has come into the heart? Wherever there is happiness, there is love. To say to have divine love or to have awareness of bliss, both are synonymous. Therefore, an aspirant always must go on working up on certain qualities to develop, like compassion, forbearance, forgiveness, not to be shaken by others, not to hold negative thoughts, anger, hate, years of itch, eczema, mental eczema. If the idea comes in a student, oh, I have all the big books of Vedanta and I'm smart, I'm just efficient in mathematics and science. With the same type of mind, I will explore the Vedanta, come to know, attain liberation, let people watch me with awe. It's not so simple. Therefore, scriptures give you so many episodes, illustrations. In Ramayana, Shabari offers bare fruits before Rama. But in her profound love, she must be sure that every fruit has been is sweet. But in order to do that, she puts her own tooth into it. She lacked the modern medicinal information. And places before Rama. Rama eats it. Lakshmana is hesitant. But he can't say Rama. He just holds back. He wants to see his Rama. Does Rama really see the toothprint? To his surprise, Rama first sees the toothprint. And wherever the toothprint is more impressed, he takes it. And he says, it's as sweet as my mother's food. Your mind will become baffled. What is Vedanta about? Is the expression of divine feeling the feeling that steps beyond practical reality. How much you give, it doesn't matter. It's the feeling behind it. And that works even in the day-to-day life. A child brings to you a flower from your own garden. And sometimes a child brings you a flower that is wildflower. But to the child's eyes, it is wonderful. Brings to the mother. And mother is very happy because it is not quality, material quality that matters, but the feeling of the child behind it. So if you are a devotee, the feeling aspect flows towards God. And that delights God. Therefore, there is a saying, Ishwar bhav ke bhukhe hain. God is hungry for your divine feeling. And Ishwar makhan chor hai. God is the stealer of your butter. Ordinary feeling is like milk, adulterated, mixed up. As you practice devotion, ordinary feeling undergoes a change. It becomes more pure milk. It goes further change. It gets churned up. Then butter emerges. Realize that it's love that is so intense and it can't be contaminated. Once butter has come, it will not go back into that water like milk. It stays out, floats, like a lotus floating. So once that has developed, wait, who is coming to steal it? You wouldn't even know that God has enfolded you, that you have attained Parabhakti. That awareness is not intellectual. Just like if you are trying to sleep, and someone says, "Are you sleeping?" Say, "Yes, I'm sleeping." That means you are not sleeping. Anyone said, "Yes, I am the devotee. I'm attained enlightenment." If you are really in deep sleep, there is no way to explode about it. You don't even know when did you go to sleep. You slip into it, it is so immense that you are not interested in explaining to whom. Therefore, they say, God has stolen. And it is dramatized in Krishna's story. That gopis were highly advanced devotees, they created, put it in the pots and hang it up there in the ceiling. And then they tell other gopis, "See, all this butter we have, we must save it from Krishna thief. So, never tell him." And that's the psychology of the villagers. The moment you put your finger at never, that means it's going to be true. So the more you would like to hide it, a devotee and anyone who is spiritually advancing, his progress is a hidden progress. Nevertheless, Krishna comes to know of it and steals it. That is the picture of developing devotion, allowing your feeling to undergo a tremendous change. And along with that purified feeling, your ego melts away. Your entire personality is no longer that imp's possession. It's no longer the jiva state. It has direct communion with the divine. It is the divine operating through the personality. Triniyesham netrani shabdalingaksha bhedat ad rudravat. All jivas possess three eyes, like Lord Rudra: scripture, inference, and sense perception. The practical world is sustained by the functions of three eyes, highly figurative. Three things are important to figure out what is real. They are called pramanas, proof. Scripture. Scripture means experience of sages. It's a verbal testimony. Inference. You see smoke, and wherever there is smoke, there is fire. That type of argument gives you inference. All the scientific knowledge about things are inferential. And then actual sense perception. All these three end up into absolute awareness. First, to understand that, think of the cross, philosophy of the cross. The horizontal line relates to the vision of your two eyes. That is to say, you are remembering the past, present, and future. That type of perception is horizontal. That relates to your two eyes. The third, vertical, transcends it. And if you are truly religious, you go on transcending your horizontal experience. Take up the cross. Jesus did it once, but he advised people to do it every day. You go on splitting the horizontal vision by a vertical understanding. Live your day by day, but the understanding mind is focused on God, the vertical vision. Avistaro bhava vikara syu kriya phala sanyogat. All bhava vikaras, all changes that occur in the world, changes that occur in you, everyone. The scriptures speak of 6 bhava vikaras applying to every individual. You are born, called janam. And after you are born, they figure out what name has to be given to you. So an identity has been fixed. That's called asti. Now, they watch you grow. Growing child. Then comes youth, a transformation. Then comes aging process, decay, and then death. 6 changes go on in every individual. And in the world, there is origination of the world. There is sustaining process, and the world comes to dissolve. All these are called vikaras, modifications. Modifications that are not real, illusory modifications. When you look at the sky, it seems as if from the sky is emerging clouds. And the clouds go on changing constantly. But while clouds change, the sky doesn't. As long as you are bonded with karma, backed up by ignorance, you are going to enter the world again and again through the cycle of birth and death. But while you experience birth and death, the reality has not changed. The God's presence has not changed. Therefore, if you develop devotion, you will become increasingly aware that God is hiding behind names and forms. Your life will become a sport called Aankh Michauni. Two friends, one closes his eyes and the other one hides somewhere and says something. The variations of the play. See, this person has to go on looking for. So you are constantly trying to look for God who is playing tricks with you. And play becomes so interesting. Through karma yoga, as you do karmas, your heart gets purified. The same type of duty that could have put you under stress, now you are inspired. The same battle that could have made you very negative, now you are full of heroic spirit. That means you are perceiving, touching God. Hide and seek is in progress. And this hide and seek is in different levels until God can't hide anymore. Parabhakti. लाली मेरे लाल की जित देखूं तित लाल, लाली देखन मैं चली मैं भी हो गई लाल. Kabira sums up, he says, a devotee goes out to find the divine beloved. And in the beginning it seems that beloved has gone far away. But gradually begins to see the presence of the beloved. Here are his footprints. Here he has thrown away one of his nail. You go on discovering something about the Supreme Beloved. And then as you advance, you realize, why are you doing that? You are in the ocean. There isn't an object. In the beginning, big things seem to give you the idea of God's majesty. Shining sun, dazzling clouds, roaring ocean, wondrous rainbows, an immensity of the sky with countless stars. They give you the impression there is God in them. But as you advance, even a tiny little leaf, even the thorns, even the mosquitoes that buzz over your nose, they all are divine. The immense mystery of God is operating through all. Look at the ocean. Every wave is inundated by the glory of the ocean. Every bubble, every foam is giving you, speaking about the glory of the ocean. You need to have eyes to see that. You need to have an optician to give you that eyes. That optician is a spiritual study, preceptor, so forth. In the end, if you have developed that clarity, you began in the world looking for love. That has been the story of your existence. Through countless lives you have looked for. But now, with satsanga, you begin to find some traces of God's presence. As you meditate, You find even the breeze is filled with what he has eaten. The fragrance from his mouth. Detailing that is the sages and saints have absolute unrestricted liberty of talking about God. The gopis, the girls from Gokul, they carry little buttermilk. Buttermilk is compared to butter and other things, it's considered very cheap, ordinary stuff. And that also in a shallow dish. And they bring it where Krishna is. And they show him from a distance. And Krishna wants to eat it, but they won't give him. They ask him to dance. Krishna is a 5-year-old boy. He dances. Please give me. And the poet says, He, God, the Almighty, even great yogis practicing lot of austerity, lot of meditation, great scholars, countless of them, they dance and they disappear, they die. They don't get even a touch of God, even a glimpse of God. Here, that very God dances, cries to get that shallow little dish. That's the glory of devotion. Because after all, you are the same. It's a ray of God operating through you. And when you discover the real I am, the rays are as if dancing with the sun. When you have come to that type of experience, that not for even for a single moment you are separated from the dazzling glory of God. Main bhi ho gayi lal. You went out looking for the Supreme Beloved, but you yourself became that. Thus ends Shandilya Bhakti Sutras. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of spiritual growth. It's an honor to learn from the wisdom of Swami Jyotirmayananda. As we part for now, remember, the quest does not end. Take time to reflect on today's insights and integrate them into your life. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, stay present. The light within you is always shining.